I never get to the exercise part enough. I don't know what to say. But it's an excellent antidepressant, okay? Prevents dementia. It's by far the best we have against dementia. You can't even compare anything else. And I know we have new fancy Alzheimer's drugs, including the monoclonal antibody that now they advertise. There's nothing like this. There's nothing that equals this. And you say, well, what do you mean by exercise? Marathon runner? No, actually here's. The more you exercise a day, the longer you live. 15 minutes of exercise a day. You see, what matters to our mitochondria is what you do every day. So that's why I said food that you eat every day that matters. Exercise that you do every day that matters. If you just exercise once a week, you haven't done anything. You exercise 3 times a week, you've done maybe just enough to wake up your mitochondria. You need to do it every day. 6 days a week, 7 days a week. 15 minutes, 7 days a day, 7 days a week, you live 3 years longer. 30 minutes a day, 7 days a week. And it could be just fast walk, or it could be just a walk, compared to no walk. Then 30 minutes, you live 5 years, okay? It's a dose-dependent increase in lifespan and quality of life by just exercise. Now, now especially for women, and postmenopausal women is a problem. Why? You lose your estrogens, you lose your protein mass, skeletal mass. I found it's extremely difficult. Women are like 2 categories. The one who picked up exercise when they are young, they'll continue to exercise. It's easy sell. But the ones who've never been into exercise, which are 80% of the women, at least my patients, that's anecdotal, and I'm not making, it's just an observation. It's extremely difficult to get a woman to do any kind of exercise. And I think the reason is not because they don't want to. The reason is women are amazing caregivers. So all their focus every day, it's all about the others, including pets. I mean, you got a rat maul as a pet at 2 a.m. and suffering, I got to take you to a vet, you will do that. But if you suffer somewhere with a knee or anything, you'll postpone it. And that's what women do. And you'll do the same with exercise. I don't have time in the day to reserve 15 minutes every day to walk, or 30 minutes. And I need you to be aware that unfortunately, because that's your natural tendency, sacrifice for the others and not for yourself, you're not going to be able to sustain this long term unless you give yourself an hour, 2 hours a day. Be selfish so you can get your exercise done, you can cook, prepare your food, do things that are important for your mind so you can relax, whether it's music, whether it's walking, whether it's going to church. Whatever works for you, community service, whatever makes you happy for 2 hours a day. You need to do those 2 hours to yourself. So then you can give the rest for the others and continue to do that. And I think that's the main reason why we're having problems with our ladies try to exercise. Okay? Men, it's easy, it's on and off. Either they'll do it or you don't. Okay? Well, I know once I convince a man to exercise, and everybody knows it's so much easier for men to exercise, lose weight, we have more muscle mass. So exercising helps you with your diabetes. In other words, fix that mitochondria. The more muscle you have, the more mitochondria you use, then it fixes the metabolic problem much easier. That's why it's so useful. So it fixes your brain, fixes your muscle, fixes your fatty liver. You may or may not lose weight from exercise. It helps you to keep the same weight. But it fixes your disease, converts you to healthy, because it's the best way to mobilize mitochondria to go back towards healthy and use them. Okay? So, and another issue with women, so going back to women, why we need to convince our ladies to start exercise is because at age, first of all, only 40% of women eat less than 60 grams of protein a day, which is actually minimum survival in terms of protein intake. All right? You're not eating enough protein, at least with the data we have. You're supposed to eat about 2, if it is, it's a gram per pound, really. All right, you're not going to eat 60, you're going to eat 100. 100 is minimal, 80 to 100 is ideal. You try to eat 100 grams a day of protein, you'll see it will not be easy, but minimal 80. Second, women who are postmenopausal, they lose hormones, estrogens. That means less likely the proteins are going to go into their muscle. Third, they exercise late just by nature because they are nurturing others instead of themselves. All right? And you can eat all the protein you want, if you don't, if you don't exercise to raise your growth hormones and put that protein into the muscle, it doesn't matter. And last but not least, women are the most effective and actually penalized by this. About at age 70, 1 out of 4 women will have a fall. There are actually right now more falls in this country with hip fractures every year. There are as many as heart attacks. We talk about heart attacks, but we don't talk about hip fractures and falls that disable our elderly. And once you have the first fall, is the beginning of your last year of life. Half of them will not be alive, and the half that will be alive will be mostly disabled and in bed. And why do we fall? We lose our balance because we have weak muscles. And that's why women are more affected than men. Okay? Doesn't mean it doesn't happen to men. It can happen too. That's why we need to exercise. And as I mentioned, you want to fix your mitochondria? It's very simple. One is exercise, the other one is sleep. And why? During the sleep, we don't eat. Give a break. So they can metabolize all that junk which you put during the day. 12 hours fasting. That makes a difference. You give time. Okay? So, big deal. I hope I motivate you now. And you say, no, that's not possible. Here is any time and any moment in your life, it can happen. This is a 93 years old. It's been actually published in an American Journal of Physiology. It's a big journal. They study him for metabolic purpose, like an Olympic athlete, compared to Olympic athletes in their 20s. At 93, he's as fit as 40. He's been 5 times world champion at rowing for his age. And you'll say, well, it's easy. He's been doing this since he was 15 or 20 years old, right? No, he's never done any exercise until age 70. He started this at 70. And you know how much he trains? 30, 40 minutes a day rowing into his garage, a rowing machine. It doesn't take that much. And you can start anytime. And that's why I want to put this here. Anytime, anybody, rowing, low impact. You don't have to go somewhere. It's $200 a machine now. It's nothing. And you can put it vertical, doesn't occupy any space. Stationary bike, anything. Makes a difference. Walking 15 minutes. Start with that, simple. And, anybody knows Dick Van Dyke? He's an interesting character, but, this is him in his 90s. So he says, in my 30s, I exercise to look good. By the way, he smoked until age 80. All right? But probably didn't eat the other stuff. So in my 30s, I exercise to look good. In my 50s, to stay fit. In my 70s, to stay ambulatory. In my 80s, to avoid assisted living. Now in my 90s, I'm just doing it out of pure defiance. Now you'll say these are anecdotal, these people are fit. No, the whole point is obvious. They put effort in it, and particularly the one that I told you never done exercise until 70, and he does it in his own little garage. That's it. And it's not 6 hours a day, 30, 40 minutes. It's not that hard. I personally, I just run in my cul-de-sac 5 miles when I get home. All right? I don't even go anywhere. Why? It has to be convenient right there next to me. Otherwise, I'm not going to do it. I don't have time to go to the gym. It's not that hard. And we need that because that, not only that it fixes our insulin resistance, they've been shown actually 45 minutes of exercise within 24 hours fixes your insulin resistance. After age 40, we lose our growth hormone. So exercise that's 30 minutes releases back growth hormone, which we lose with age. Growth hormone there not only that works on our brain, and also we have one that's called brain-derived neurotrophic factor. It's good for our memory. You see, muscle can signal to the brain, just like brain signals to the muscle. But think about it. I want to do some more serious exercise. I have to be agile. I have to make sure I don't break my leg. There is an incline. There is a stone. So the brain has to pay attention, has to improve the memory. So there is dual, signals. Muscle releases basically growth hormones for the brain, and then the brain releases growth factor for the muscle. It goes both ways. All right. So And you do that even when we're getting old. We boost back up those growth hormones, both for the muscle, but also for the, and so you need both some form of aerobic and resistance exercise. It doesn't have to be 20 pounds. It could be 5 pounds for the upper body. It could be just lifting up your legs where you're staying supported. Again, whatever you can do for 5-10 minutes a day, and for resistance, hand grip, and that's shown to improve brain memory, growth hormone. And when you do that, then if you eat your protein from those protein shakes, then it goes into your muscle. But if you don't do the exercise, it just goes and causes fatty liver and contributes to diabetes. Big difference. Patients who are mine, if they have heart failure, I can send them actually for cardiac rehab. Insurance pays for that, and that's what you do. You're going to go back and mobilize your mitochondria to do the job. And all they care for is stop eating for 12 hours, which sleep is when they regenerate. It's called mitophagy. That's what we do. And then in the same time, exercise is what regenerates them and make them be healthy. So they burn. This is what they like. Well, you push them to burn, then they will stimulate the muscles to do that. Anything, it could be, as I mentioned, I like the rowing. I like things that are good for your back muscle. Why? When let's say we start after age 65, we still use the walking feature, which means I'm going to activate and keep my front muscles still active. But I lose my back muscles, I'm not walking backwards. All right? So I need to strengthen my back muscles. The number one reason why we lose our balance is our back muscles are weak. And also the number one reason why I have back aches and joint aches, because those are not strong enough around the joints. So that's why I recommend 10 minutes of rowing every day, or at least 3 times a week for about a month or 2 before you try any exercise. Why? Because you need to strengthen those back again, and then you'll see how suddenly your joints will hurting much less. You can do other stuff, water aerobics, whatever else you like, just walking, big difference. And your balance will improve. So it's important, all right? It doesn't have to be that. It's low impact, rowing is good for bone health, avoids muscle wasting, which is very important. Anybody wants to go on diet, when you lose weight, fat, you also lose muscle. And if you lose it after age 40, it's irreversible. And if you're a woman, it's way harder to get back, because it's way harder for me to convince you to do the exercise. So we're in trouble, all right? And, graffiti, we're just going on a little trampoline, $100 device. Big difference, just go up and down and hold on it, for a minute. If you cannot do rowing or anything else, make sure you get one that you can hold it. Or it can be just pulling some strings and whatever. So I talk about, anyway, the whole purpose, and if you were to do, whether it's stationary bike, exercise, running, everything is in your little booklet, by the way, okay? But if you were to do anything, I don't want your heart rate to go up. I don't want you to do anything strenuous. It's what we call 75% of your target heart rate. Heart rate is 110, 120, just above your normal, by 20 beats. And then just sustain. The key is duration. Whatever you do, make sure you can sustain it and keep increasing it. Our mitochondria, our body listens to what's duration, and every day, not to intensity once a week or twice a week. Even twice a week is better, but every day, little by little, duration. Dedicate time and low impact. That's it.